Hey, what's up, everybody? Sorry I'm a little late, about a few minutes after the hours, but anyways, I'll do my normal intro. Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the chart behind me, which is of Lucid Motors, which I'm not necessarily going to go over. I just had that up here from yesterday's video. And so, yeah, just to go over a few things before I get into some of the requests. Hey, guys, sorry I'm a little bit late. But yeah, I'll definitely jump onto what you guys are requesting. And yeah, so just before I get into it, if you've got one request, just give them to me one at a time. Otherwise, if you put a bunch there, maybe I go over them, you'll leave, so let's just do it one at a time. And yeah, just so I can keep up so others aren't waiting for a long time. But once I do go over your ticker, feel free to request a second one. And let's see. Oh, yeah, yesterday I did kind of like an experimental thing with just going over options data. I think that should be really useful. I'm really excited to do that. Part of the reason why I didn't get a video out today was because I was working on some stuff for that, which is all pretty basic, just, keeping track of data in Excel. But once I have like everything set up, then it should be easy to add tickers and whatnot in the future. So that should hopefully be really useful. I'm really excited about that. And also, sorry I haven't responded to comments yet. I'll probably do that after the stream, but it's possible I'll do that during work tomorrow. Let's see. Sometimes I just get behind on those. And so I will definitely be going over some of the requests that were requested in that. And so let's see. Yeah, but before I get into it, sorry, I'm kind of a mess. I was just cooking dinner and thought I'd have more time. But at least, I'm ready for, tomorrow and stuff as far as food goes, so I'm in good shape. But anyways, cheers to all of you guys. I made a G&T because I had a little bit of G and I got some tea and a lime. So, yeah, cheers to you guys. Cheers to the weekend and the big week ahead for, so many reasons. I just posted this in the Discord, but I was kind of thinking that, because last week we saw some pretty red days, I'm wondering if any volatility that we might be expecting this week is already priced in. And so we actually see like an up week. So it'll be, very interesting to see what happens. But anyways, cheers to you guys in the weekend. Drinking is so difficult with a mustache, especially when you're streaming, because like I want to do it quickly so I'm not wasting your guys' time, but yeah, it's just tough. Anyways, so I'll start adding stuff to the list here. And so I've got first request was Bitcoin, which I can go over. Oops, Bitcoin. I might do that in, let's see, TradingView, just because I think that the data is a little bit better there. And also CleanSpark. But before I get on to CleanSpark, I might go over some of the other requests. Nameless has requested PAG, so I'll definitely add that up here. I haven't been paying attention to that one, so that'll be interesting to see what's going on in Benjamin. Sorry I haven't responded to your comment about Blink, but I'll definitely go over it here. And before I do go over the tickers, since I am a little bit behind, I am just going to make sure that you're here before I start going over the ticker. So please let me know in the chat if you are here, and then I'll go over the ticker. But I don't want to be going into it when you're on like a bathroom break and then you come back and I'm done with the analysis. So I'll ask before I start going over them. I will start with Bitcoin though, since that was requested first. And then Saul has written PRCH. So I'll do that one. And then if you want to request ChargePoint later, or maybe I can do ChargePoint with Blink, coinciding with Benjamin's request. And then also, let's see, ASTI. So I'll do ASTI, Kevin, and then you can follow up with Sober once, I go around. And Disclosure Crypto is Gary. So when I go over Bitcoin, which is at the start, I'll go over that. And what is that? And I didn't want to have to say this. I don't want to talk about anything having to do with the election. Whatever party you guys are interested in, I'm supportive of you voting for whoever you want, but I don't want to talk about it. So let's just talk about stocks, unless it relates to stocks. But I just feel like let's see. that, yeah, like I feel like it's kind of priced in that, it seems pretty 50-50 across the country. And different sources say different things. So yeah, I think, yeah, I'm pretty confident Iowa will go red, which is Republican, because that's where I am, Iowa. And but yeah, but I don't want to get into any of it because I know that we all have different opinions about it, and like. I just don't want to get into that. Otherwise, I'll just close this down early, and I don't want to do that. So let's talk about stocks. Um, yeah, so I'll first start with Bitcoin though, and I will also go over Gari. And so let's see. I'm just gonna go over it in trading view over here. I've got natural gas up, but I will pull up Bitcoin. And so let's see, Bitcoin. Let's see which. Maybe I just want to type it BTC. That's probably a better way to do this. Bitcoin. Let's see. I'll do. Yeah, I guess Bitcoin US. Or this is probably good. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, actually, so for Bitcoin, I'm realizing, looking at the chart, the very limited analysis that I've done, I feel like this is a really good place to look at the data because of daily closes. I'm pretty sure it's like GMT time, but it's possible that it's not in Webull. I'm not really sure. It might be local time. I haven't really looked into it, but I'll just pull up Bitcoin. I pulled up Bitcoin Cash, so I don't want that. So let's see, BTC USD, so right here. And so yeah, my analysis on Bitcoin's pretty simple. I haven't really done anything too extensive. I do have, I guess, the 200-day moving average up here, and the 5-day moving average, which doesn't really tell you too much. But maybe we could be coming down to the 200-day, which is like 63. But what I think, regardless of where we go to, I guess I have to switch over to the weekly chart. I don't know how you could not be bullish on something like this, because either it's kind of like a sloppy inverse head and shoulders, or it's a cup and a handle. And we got to a high higher than these highs. Let's see, we're coming to lower highs, also lower highs in the RSI, so there's no bearish divergence, whereas over here you saw higher high and a lower high. That's bearish divergence. That was a little bit of a tell. Over here, higher highs, higher highs. This is lower high, lower high. Yeah, I mean, and the fact that we're like above this downtrend, which is based on, these two weekly highs, whatever they are. So this is, I guess after the second week, the second full week of, let's see, March, and then the other pivot high is the first couple days of August. So that's how I draw that downtrend. We're above it. I feel like it's going to be going a lot higher. And it might just be waiting for the election results, whatever they are, just to have that certainty. And, because it's like, well, maybe one candidate wins, we want to do something like this. Maybe a different candidate wins, we want to do this. And either way, going bullish, but maybe in different proportions, or, managing risk in different ways. So I don't know. I think that, just once that certainty is in, the election is over. I actually posted a clip on the channel of, I believe it was, I don't know if it was Vanguard, I think, a guy who manages Bitcoin for them. I believe it's Vanguard. Was talking about that once the election's settled, this will be going higher. And so I feel like that is kind of, Bitcoin's going to lead the way. Other cryptocurrencies will also be going up. And yeah, I think that we'll be seeing, a Santa Claus rally with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. I'm just going to pull up Doge here for a second for myself, rather than, doing it in, let's see, what is the name of it? I haven't been in TradingView for a while. But yeah, just pulling up Dogecoin, I had posted on the channel that I thought that price could be coming down to, around 15 cents. I drew this yellow line, really just being kind of arbitrary. And you can see that that line was drawn excellently. I personally, I just do a very small amount, $3 a day for Doge, because that's something that's sustainable, emotion free. But I placed an order for an additional amount, small amount, less than $10 at 15 cents. And I do have another order at 14 cents if we do break that. But I think that this is, looking good. That level makes sense to me. Pull back to that and then continue higher. And, I think that this could be going up to $1, if not more. Maybe by the end of this year. I have no idea with this kind of stuff. I have not been, I feel like I'm more centered now with crypto than I have been in the past. Like I feel like I would FOMO in more in the past, and now like I feel like I have a little bit of that urge, but I'm really just kind of like chilling. So let's see, Gari USD. I'm not sure which I had looked at before in case. Oh, I guess I got some drawings on here, so this is good. And so I'm just going to try to zoom in on this appropriately. And yeah, I mean, I haven't drawn anything on this since you last requested it. Yeah, we could see that we got a high today so far. It looks like 0.93 cents. And I got this yellow line drawn here at 0.94 cents. And so with that being, prior resistance, you could think of this as like, oh, maybe this is a bull flag, but then it got rejected. That is now going to be, a pretty important level to be breaking above. And, this is the daily candle. So what kind of move occurred? Was that, I guess, on the 3rd, but GMT, I guess. And that's now over because I think it's after, I think time shifted to the new day an hour and 15 minutes ago, I believe. But let's see. Yes, or so on the 3rd, the daily candle there went up almost 46%. So very nice there. Congrats if you were holding that. That does look like, it was kind of a double or triple bottom here. So yeah, very nice move. I would, I guess, hope that it just consolidates above like 24 cents. That was the not 24 cents. That's the 236. I'm talking about 8.8 cents. Hopefully it consolidates above 0.8 cents. That could be a bull flag, and then maybe it starts to go higher. So yeah, I mean, generally with crypto, I'm really excited to see what happens at the end of the year. I'm not FOMOing or chasing like this. If I were to get into something like this, there could be a disastrous outcome if that pulled back. And then, we don't see a rally into the end of the year. But if this does consolidate, I could see this going up. Let's see. I've got this golden pocket up here, which is the retracement that I did, I guess, from, oh, wait, no, that's a 4. So I did that from the high over here, the retracement from there down to here. And so the golden pocket is right around like 1.2 cents. And so from current price, that is, let's see, let's just get a measurement of that. That would be going up like 40%. So I could see that happening, and that perhaps just being like a stage in, steps to the upside. But yeah, looking pretty good, especially with that 45% move. But I just look for it, to hold up the majority of that 45% move. And so like consolidating above 0.8 cents, I think that would be really important. But yeah, so anyways, that's a little bit of crypto stuff. I will get back to the other requests. And, so let's see. I'm not sure. 6737. I'll go over CleanSpark in a little bit. Since you did have 2 requests, I'll come back to that. I am now going to go on to PAG. So Nameless, are you here? I just want to make sure you're not running to Home Depot or anything. And so before I get the response from Nameless, Wallet O's. What are my thoughts on NEO? So I just did a video yesterday on options. NEO is included in that. There are timestamps so you can skip towards it. If you're not interested in options, that's fine. But I believe NEO, the options look good for it. Like it looks like it's set up to be bullish. And just as far as the chart goes, I'll follow up on it. But my thesis is still the same. I think that like in 8 months, like so by June 20th, like I have calls with an $8 strike. I think that NEO will be going up towards $8. But yeah, I'll go over that kind of in order. And so Fort Crypto, take a look. So I'm not jumping ahead and stuff. I'll add Fort over here. And is that Fort USD? Is this it? That's Forta. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's correct, but I will. Hey, more money. What's up, by the way? And hey, everybody. Sorry if I'm not saying hi to you guys personally. I'm just trying to make sure I have everything up here. But yeah, since Nameless is not responding, Benjamin, are you here? I can go over. Let's see, Blink as well as ChargePoint. So whoever responds first, I will go over that. Yeah, and then more money, I'll go over Fort once I get to it on the list. But yeah, just let me know if you're here because I do get requests to go over things. I go over them, and then people follow up saying, "Hey, did you go over?" And I'm specifically referring to Nameless. So, okay, yeah, in case Nameless is at Home Depot, which he was at last week, kind of funny, I will go over Blink and ChargePoint just because that's kind of like a 2-for-1 for me because I'm holding ChargePoint. And so I think a lot of my analysis comes from, basically how I'm trying to handle my position with that and how that relates to the sector. And I guess I should maybe kind of start with EVgo. Let's see. And how this has just like been on such a rampage. This did pull back as I expected it would, but I think I kind of talked about it pulling back here, and I didn't expect it to have like a double top. But we can see here with EVgo, it's put in higher highs here, but then the RSI, let's see, is a lower high. And so that's bearish divergence. That might be suggesting EVgo and or the EV charging sector is going to be having a pullback. That could also just be suggesting that we've already seen it with EVgo. And also, kind of my view is that EVgo has just really taken off here, whereas ChargePoint has not. It's been doing the opposite. And Blink, is kind of like in the middle. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking that EVgo is overpriced because it's moved up so much. ChargePoint is underpriced because it's moved down so much. And Blink is somewhere in the middle. And so, let's see. I feel like a lot of my analysis really just comes from how I'm trying to handle my position with ChargePoint. But with Blink, we got this orange uptrend, also this red uptrend holding above both of those levels. So I think that's good. It does look like there's a gap here right around 178. The close on October 3rd was 178. So that's, a possibility. But, I would look for it to be holding these levels and really holding above $2 a share. Got this prior high over here, consolidation below it before breaking above, retesting, and then going higher. Putting in, an inverted hammer candle here with a big wick to the top side after, doing it basically 2 days in a row. Pulling back, coming down on the 29th, over 5%, and then consolidating here above $2 a share. So I'd look for it to be holding above $2 a share. It looks like earning is coming up on the 7th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure why. I think I need to shut down and restart Webull because it keeps pulling up the wrong dates when I hover over earnings. But let's see, maybe it will pop up. Earnings, yeah, on the 7th is what it looks like. And so, yeah, I mean, if it's holding above $2 before earnings, I think that's, because holding above $2 brings you to this uptrend. And I think that looks good for it. But if it starts to break below 2, that's going to be starting to show weakness. And I feel like that kind of reminds me of my analysis of Tilray before earnings, where it was like slowly breaking below levels, but maybe it was holding some. And so, really, I feel like with Blink, I think that the bottom could be in if it's still holding above $2 before earnings. That means closing above $2. If it dips below but closes above, I think that's fine. But if it starts to close below 2, I think that could be dipping down to, perhaps to fill this gap at, 178. So I'd be cautious with that one. And let's see, with ChargePoint, this has been it put in a new 52-week low, which is $1.20 on Thursday. It closed at $1.20. And so, what I've been doing, I think I just added, I try to add, so I have a position that's divisible by 100 shares. And so with ChargePoint, I think I was kind of like incrementally buying as it was coming down, like 125, 124, 123. And then let's see, I did like kind of maybe a bulk buy at 122. I'm just pulling it up on my phone so I can refer to it, or at least have the right numbers. So so there was this prior low. If I adjust this, it shows the low over here of 123, which was hit on September 10th. And then if I go over here, it should have the low of 121, which was hit on April 22nd. And so I kind of had my eyes on, 121, and then over here, 123. Logically, the next low would be like 125, going up in like 2-cent increments. So I started buying 10-share increments at 125 and 124, 123, 122. And then I just kind of, was like, well, hey, hopefully it doesn't put in a lower low, which it did do. But I'm just going to say, I want it to be holding the bottom at 121. So I bought the rest of my shares to equal 100, which was 60 at 121. If I would have placed an order at 120, it may not have been filled. Whenever that's the bottom or the low, orders aren't always filled. It's very difficult to buy the exact bottom, very difficult to sell the exact top. And so I'm kind of thinking like, well, crap, that's a lower low. It's not looking too good. EVgo looks like it needs to be pulling back some. I'm hoping that, what's going on here with Blink, that, like I said, it holds $2 and then this starts to go higher, getting back up to this purple uptrend. That would be getting up to like $3 a share. So, that's what I want to see. I want to see that in Blink, not only because, I know Benjamin holds it and others hold this. I want it to go up. And also because I think that whatever happens with Blink will be somewhat similar with ChargePoint. And I think that if Blink is starting to move higher, I think ChargePoint would. And so, I tried to view this like 120 dip. I'm trying to view it as, maybe it's, just like flushing out the lows and it might be going higher. But this, to me, seems like it's not so great of a sign because it is a lower low. And so it could just be continuing to bleed. But like we got one close below this white line. The second one was right at it. What is that white line? That is, based on these two pivot lows, one being the low from April 22nd, which was at a price of 121. And the other one here being the low from September 10th, which was 123. And so getting one close below that, not so good. But now getting a close, really above that prior low, I have got some hopium that this bottom is in. And for me, like the way that I am going to trade this for the next week is I'm just going to hold on the brakes. If this goes lower than 120, I'm going to see where it settles out at because I don't want to be chasing a falling knife. Also, with the 7th being, let's see, that's Thursday. Maybe, Blink starts to really rally or break down. and then that affects what's going on with ChargePoint. But like with ChargePoint, I'd like to see it holding closes above 123, or like really like above like 124 being higher closes, and that this one closes just a fake out, a dip buying opportunity. And we've got this gap here at 169, which is like, did I intentionally do that or something? That's from the let's see, the close from September 4th was 169. Yeah, so I mean, that's funny. I like that. I want it to go to 169, but I'm biased. But this could just be, flushing the lows. People thinking, oh, well, it closed at 120. It's going to keep going lower. So for me, I'm just holding onto the brakes with ChargePoint this week. And really, like, I'll be very curious to see what happens with Blink earnings. And so, yeah, Benjamin, keep following up with me. Let me if Blink closes below 2, let me know in a comment, and I'll try to give you my perspective on it. And but yeah, I mean, it's been putting in higher highs, but this is like uptrending consolidation, could break to the downside. So yeah, I just think like closes above 2. So I mean, hopefully that's helpful. And so Benjamin's following up. Do I still think that Plug is a 10x stock? I'm not sure exactly, but I think that I talked about in the options video that one, and I think that it'd be going to $3 in like 8 months. But I can add that to the request list along with the other ones that were requested, and so I'll just catch up on those. And so let's see. And Nameless, if you're here, let me know. I will go over PAGs, but I didn't want to go over it in case you were not here. So let me know as I add these, and then we can go over it. Let's see, Plug. And do I think there could be a merger of? So let's see. That's like a terrible name. FNGR finger motion. Like that sounds dirty. Like when I read that, I was like, "Are you playing a trick on me, Jax?" And then Uraz. So I'll look at. Actually, I don't know what Uraz is. So you'll have to let me know, but I'll look at FNGR. But I'm just going to go back to the top. And so I don't see Nameless responding. And so Nameless, if you're still here, let me know. I will go over PAGs. And so I might actually just remove the tickers that I have gone over and or that were not requested. And so Doge, I can delete that. Bitcoin, I've already gone over it. And let's see. Okay, and Lucid, nobody requested that. Okay, so maybe I will go back to CleanSpark since that was requested, and just waiting for Nameless to let me know if it's here. And while I go over CleanSpark, let's see who is next. Perch, Saul. So I can go over Perch next. So Saul, let me know if you're in the chat, and then I'll definitely go over that. But first, I'm going to go over CleanSpark. And so here, like this pullback corresponding with Bitcoin pulling back. I feel like this might really just be like kind of waiting for, regardless of who wins, just the results of the election, just that uncertainty to be behind us. And also, rate cuts. I think we potentially have a 25% to 50% one, or 0.25 or whatever basis points. So Nameless, you're here, so I will go over PAGs, and I can also go over Fastly real quick. But I did go over Fastly in last night's video on options, but didn't really go over it too in depth. But I do have a position in that, some calls. Let's see, I have one call on Fastly. But yeah, I can go over that. And Walletos, can Neo do a 10x? I have no idea. Like as far as like for me, if something can do a 2x, that's probably the most I would suggest could happen. A 10x, I have no idea. In time, I think it could. I think in time, most things could probably do 10x, but that might be like 10 years or something. And so, yeah, I mean, with CleanSpark, I really don't have too much to say about this, other than, this could be the formation of an inverse head and shoulders. And if that is an inverse head and shoulders, I'm actually going to delete this. Let's see some of these levels because I just don't think that they're that useful. But these down here, it does look like maybe that blue line is useful for that head and shoulders. But yeah, I'm just going to delete this orange one. Don't know where it originates from, but just don't want to clutter the chart. And so what I can see here is, I'm just doing this from, maybe I want to do a ray, not a horizontal line. So I'm just going to do a ray, connecting it from the pivot point, the pivot high from August 23rd, and then connect that to basically the pivot high from October 18th. And I'm going to make that be, let's see, a notably thicker purple line. And then, if I just drag this over here, like from that pivot point, oops, that is not what I wanted to have happen. My mouse has been acting weird. It doesn't say it's low of batteries, but it's been acting kind of wonky. So yeah, I don't know what it is. But yeah, so this is potentially like inverse head and shoulders, the left shoulder here, head here. Maybe this is the right shoulder, but maybe not because it's broken lower here. And so, yeah, what we can do with this though is we can take a measurement to see where clean spark could be going. And so I'm just going to do that, taking a measurement from the low here of 804, drawing this up so we have the center of that line. So like right here going up straight to that neckline. So having the center of that line going over here and then just doing the crosshairs right at, last Friday's trading. So I'm just going to lower that so it's a straight line, from here up to here. So that is, 1/2 of a measurement for this inverse head and shoulders move. And then the other half would be suggesting that price could be going up to around $17.50, somewhere around there. So, potentially plus $7 from where it's currently at. So, yeah, that's, is that a 70% move effectively? Oh, what am I doing? I want to do this, like from approximately current price. Yeah, it's around 70% to the upside. Pretty easy math. They're actually 10 to like 17. And so that's what I would think would happen with Clean Spark. And I feel like this kind of goes across the board with the Bitcoin miners. And I have actually, I was very close to buying some Mara, but my order didn't get filled. And so I think this is actually really intriguing. Maybe I want to place a buy order for Mara just because I feel like it's, I don't know, let's see, what's the market cap? 4.74 billion versus Clean Spark 2.61. So yeah, just because it's like, I don't know, the leader of the pack, I guess, as far as Bitcoin miners go. But yeah, I also just have like this kind of simple analysis. And there's this guy, he goes by like, I think Volatility is his like a name, but it's not necessarily his handle or, I think it's like Tali Tapan. I don't know. I think he's Indian. And so I don't know how to pronounce his name or even say it or spell it. But he goes by Volatility and he's been posting a lot about Mara. So it's kind of an easy one for me to like keep up with. But yeah, with this, basically, same type of thing here. Inverse head and shoulders with Mara. Let's see. We've got, let's see. I'm just going to do basically the same kind of analysis that I just did and connecting it over here. I'm going to make that a thick purple line again. And then I'm just going to move this pivot point to over here. And so we can see that's an inverse head and shoulders pattern. If I do the exact same type of thing with this being the base of the head at 317, straight line up to intersect the midpoint of that with the neckline. And then we could see that price could potentially be going up to like $25 a share. So there's actually more upside potential with Mara, in my view, than there is, because it's like 16 up to about 25. That's $9. Percentage-wise, that's also a bigger move. Whereas Clean Spark potentially going up, or maybe this is I can just do the math on that. Let's see. This is a 90% move to the, man, let's see. I got to do it from here, from like the close here up to there. 55%. So yeah, it's a smaller percentage move to the upside. So I guess there is more of a reward for CleanSpark, but I just feel like that Mara has this really nice uptrend, which, let's see, based on, the pivot lows from October of 2023, so like a year ago, and then this low over here. Fake out break below it, but we have been respecting it more recently, and we're right about at that level. So yeah, I could see like a dip buy. What was the low on Friday? 1610. I could see a dip buy at 16. I got an alert there. Look at that. So, with it coming down to right around 16, I am not a big fish, but this is something I'd like to participate in because I guess this is a little bit of FOMO that I have. But it's only $16, to pick up one share just to kind of have some fun and participate. And so I'm just going to place a buy order. You should be able to hear the chime, I believe, when I do place the order. Maybe not, because it's a new order. I'd have to edit it to make the chime, I think. But yeah, I'm just going to place a buy order for one share at 16. And I don't log in on my computer, so you're not going to see it. But yeah, this, I feel like crypto, I feel like these miners are going to be seeing a bounce. And I think they're both pretty close to their lows. And let's see if I kind of like the same analysis. I'm going to delete these lines though, because I don't really feel like they're that useful at this point. But let's see, this was the low from November. October was a little bit high. Let's see, it was a little bit lower. But this kind of like intersected with what would be a trend line. Just kind of like to recreate the line that I drew for Mara. And so let's see if I just do from approximately the low there and then the low over here. And I actually think this would have been the low corresponding. Let's see, that's August 5th with Mara as the low of August 5th. Yeah, so they're a little bit different charts, but I feel like that trend line could be suggesting that price could be coming down to like maybe 935 or 10 at least. The low on Friday was 1027, so maybe this is going to come a little bit lower. And you can see like right here on the y-axis, that's 950. So maybe price comes down to 950 with CleanSpark. But yeah, I'm intrigued by both of those, finding a bottom. But at the same time, I hold Bitcoin, I dollar cost average every day, along with Doge and some others. And, so I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens at the end of the year. But I'm not too active with them. It's just, daily dollar cost averaging that's already set up. So, okay, so I am going to check on, so Nameless's request, since he's kind of been waiting a little bit, I'll pull up Fastly, and I will also go over PAG since you've been patiently waiting. And so, yeah, this looks kind of like not so great with the big wick to the upside, especially after following this big red candle. Like it wanted to reclaim what it had lost, but it got rejected. So that doesn't look so good, but, it hasn't put in a lower low, or I guess it put in a double bottom with $8. So, if it closes or if it just goes below 8, like if it goes to 7.99, I think that could be a bad side, but maybe it's like just sweeping the lows, kind of like what I was talking about with ChargePoint. There's still a little bit of hope. And so I would just be looking for no closes below $8 a share. And yeah, and let's see. And with that being said, there are these two gaps. And kind of like with my thesis on gaps is, you might get one, like kind of like what happened with SoFi. One of them got filled around, I think, was it $6 a share, but it wasn't going down to 541, so there's a gap left behind. This gap at 777, that could be a gap left behind. If we do go towards that gap, it could be that the rug's being pulled out from under us and that it's going lower. And by us, I just mean retail. I don't have a position in PAGs. But yeah, I think that if it doesn't go to 777 to fill this gap, then I would think that, people are probably waiting for that gap to be filled, saying, it's right around 8, just got like 20 cents to go, 30 cents to go before that gap's filled. I'm going to wait for it to be filled, and then I'm going to put all of my money on it. And, it doesn't go down to that level, and then it goes up to fill this gap, and then they get left behind, then they FOMO in, and then this really launches. And so this purple uptrend that I do have drawn here, that is, based on the low from over here, which was November 1st of 2023, and the pivot point over here being October 7th. And, one thing that I do think is good to consider here, though, like, I don't think we typically, sometimes it's good to just like flip charts upside down to kind of, give a different perspective. But, if I were to see, and this is going to be relevant for Fastly, if I were to see a shape like this and then consolidation over here like that, but it was flipped around. So I see like a cup and then consolidation, a handle, I would think that's bullish. Whereas with PAGs, this looks like it's the inverse of that. It's an upturned cup with the handle here. And so I would think this is actually somewhat bearish, just like how, moved down here, consolidation, and then it broke lower. And so I would say, if there's a close, definitely two closes below 8, this could be coming back to like $7 a share. So I'd be cautious with this one, which is kind of like the inverse, basically exactly the inverse of Fastly, which I did go over in last week's stream. I did do the video on it. And so my thesis with this, so I noted it and I put it in my, in the options video from yesterday. So maybe that's useful, but actually I don't think there's too much options data on Fastly for at least the call that I'm interested in. So it's not really necessarily that useful, but I just see this as, this is very clearly a cup with a double bottom, bull flag, cup or handle formation. This looks really good. So this consolidation, with earnings coming up on the 6th, so that's Wednesday, I believe. I feel like this is positioned to take off. And so I have one call, my average, so it's a $10 strike call for Fastly that expires June 20th. So I got plenty of time in case I'm wrong. Only one call, and my average is 89 cents. And, I'm not buying anymore. I'm going to wait to see what happens on earnings. I do have a limit sell order at 20%, but considering that earnings do take place, either after hours or pre-market, I'm not sure for this company for this earnings report. But then it's like, oh, well, if the stock really takes off and starts to head towards $10 a share, then I probably adjust that 20% sell order for, 100%. And so I turn $89 into like 158. Is that right? No, yeah, 9 times 2 is, no, it'd be like 178, I think. And so, yeah, like my thesis is this cup that I went over in that video. It hasn't, really given me any signs that it's going to collapse. A close below 703, especially even before earnings, might be suggesting to me that it's probably going to be going lower, that this pattern that I've identified was poorly identified. I'm wrong, and that this could break lower, but it also could be a fake out. So for me, I'm just chilling with my call. If it does fill at 20% profit before earnings, I'm going to sit on the sidelines. I do think that the call could be 2xing, so 100% swing. And, really just like the big reason for that is like this, let's see, measurement here going up to around $10 a share. And that's not even getting up to, the neckline or the brim of that cup, which would be like a measured move, going up to 10. So I think going up to 10 between now and June, definitely feasible. But I just know there might be like some volatility in between then, now and then. So, I just take 20% profit and move on to the next trade. Because I'm just trying to be more disciplined about that. Because Fubo, I did have, I think, 30 to 40% gain on it, but I didn't sell or didn't trim. And now I'm in the red a little bit, which I'm not worried about because that one expires in May. But anyways, yeah, so hopefully that's useful with, let's see, Fastly there and PAGs. And I will come back to, let's see, TMDX. Sorry, your Don Lemonet your icon is very similar color to. I think that it's slightly like yours is more magenta, whereas Nameless's is kind of pink. Maybe they're the same color, but I thought that you were Nameless for a second. So let's see, TMDX. I'll add that here, and uh, and so yeah, Nameless is saying around 8 seems cheap for PAGs. It often goes to 16. So I mean, I think it's good to have a plan if it does start to form like a double bottom there. I'll just pull it up so you guys know what we're talking about. So Nameless is talking about, this has been, held 8, so feeling good about that. But if it does go to 7, which would be coming back to these lows, that would be like a buy heavily zone for Nameless. And so, yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. But I mean, also, I mean, it's consolidating above, this little bit here of consolidation. So maybe that support, it did, find it here and then move up a bunch. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. So many earnings going on this week. I'm going to be streaming the AMC earnings call, which I found I'm not the best with earnings calls because I just don't have the attention span for it. And also, I'm not the best at navigating websites. I was given a hard time for a Rocket Lab earnings call, and I just kind of recognized like this is a lot of work. It doesn't really produce that much for the channel, and I'm tired. So I'm just doing the AMC earnings call this week, and that's it. But yeah, so there's PAGs, and so I'm just going to scroll up to see what the other requests were, so I'm not skipping anybody. So Saul had Perch, and then ASTI was from Kevin, and then Sober. And so once I go over ASTI, I'll add Sober. But let's start with Perch here. I've not looked at this one. This looks like it's a bull flag. Earnings coming up. I mean, it is kind of risky, though, because this, after this big move on the 28th, went up 70%. So, I mean, this does look really good. This is Porsche, is that right? Porsche Group is a provider of vertical software and insurance platform. Yeah, so it's different than the automobile. But yeah, so let's see. Some levels that I could see this coming to. Maybe something like that, pulling back to that level seems compelling to me. And, just I'll go over some reasons for that. One, I was just thinking of like maybe I draw a horizontal line going across here, and maybe that would be a level of support. But maybe there's something a little bit more interesting that's diagonal. And actually, I'm going to move this to, because I'm an idiot, I'm going to move this to 169 because why not? So like we're on 170, could be finding some support there with the double tops, but maybe it finds support based on this trend line that does seem to intersect pretty nicely with the top following this gap down day when it went down 32%. That was around earnings. So, earnings can be risky. Almost came up to this level, almost came, pierced this level again, and then that formed an inverse head and shoulders pattern. So maybe I want to make this thick and purple, so we know it's an inverse head and shoulders there. And from that, we can do a measure. Actually, I don't know if that's an inverse head and shoulders because, I mean, it's slanted, but this low is lower than the head, so I don't think that's technically an inverse head and shoulders. But, regardless, we saw a pretty massive move. And so I would see that, price would be coming up to around $2 a share, 212 for that measured move. That clearly has happened. Maybe 212 is a level that we need to be holding. That does correspond with the like 210 right around there with the consolidation over here. So yeah, I mean, it could definitely be holding that. And let's see, I'm just going to, how do I want to do this? Maybe from the low over here, I don't know. Fibonacci retracement. And let's just add all of the levels up there. It's going to be a little cluttered. But let's see. Let's see the 50%. Where's that at? 180. The 382 is around $2. The 236, that's already there. yeah, I mean, $2, that just seeming like a psychological level. Also, that could be corresponding with actually, well, let's see, 50%. That's around 180. That would be breaking below that uptrend, but maybe there's a wick below it. But yeah, with this, um, I mean, I think that this is probably going to be, I mean, I have no idea, but just with that 70% move, that makes me think, oh, I mean, it's like gone up a lot. It's probably going to pull back. And I would think find this purple uptrend as support. I find that to be a pretty compelling level. Just that, the pivot point over here, just kind of eyeballing it over here. And we've got multiple intersections of it. And so, really, I mean, like you can think of it as, that level was support here. And then we gapped below it, and then that has been resistance multiple times. It has yet to be support again. And so I think that it could be pulling back to that, which could be, any of these levels around 210, $2, or 180, maybe 190. I'm not sure if that Fibonacci, let's see, I can maybe adjust this to be like the low over here. I mean, you can just like fudge them all you want, because it's not really clear where that should be drawn to. But yeah, and then also, with this measure move to be like 210, I feel like there could be some support there. So yeah, I mean, after this move, I could see definitely a pullback some more, but that doesn't mean that the broader picture, the bigger picture move is over. Find support there and then continue higher, maybe getting up to, find this consolidation as resistance, with the consolidation above that level and that level being right around $3.20 or maybe right around $3. Let's see, right in here where the cursor is. Maybe price could be going there, but I think pulling back to around $2 makes sense, or at least 210. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And then I will go over ASTI next, but then I'm going to add SOBR so I have it up here so I'm not forgetting. But yeah, I'll go over ASTI next. I might add whatever else is requested. And I'm just having that drink. All right, so getting lots of requests. I didn't add, I do have Neo up there, so I will go over that in a minute. And let's see, I did add Plug as well. And so, Trey, what's up? Yeah, I saw from the Discord that you are doing well with SoFi. And so I'll definitely go over it here. I haven't really made a video on it for a while just because, it's like sometimes you just, I mean, for me, I feel like I learned a really valuable lesson. I feel like I have this like two gap thesis that I developed because of my mistakes with SoFi. One gap getting filled, the bottom one not, that getting left behind and it rallying massively. But also, I feel like a lot of backlash from some SoFi videos. People were very outspoken about their views and me being wrong, and I ended up being right. And then now because of that, it's kind of like, I like that affects my judgment because it's more than just a chart. There's like a personal dynamic too. So, I've kind of wanted to step away from that because I've just been wrong about it. And I'm just going to clear this chart because it looks like those levels are old, I guess, because of this reverse split. A 1 for 100, that is crazy. But yeah, I'll look at this and think about it. And let's see, I'm going to add TMC. Oh, words in the chat for the algo. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, and let's see. Yeah, I'm doing good. I've just, as far as, I mean, I haven't been putting out as many videos lately. I think it's really just because my work schedule just tires me out. I work 12-hour shifts, which ends up being 12 and a half hours with a half an hour lunch break. And it's, 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days off, and then that kind of repeats, but the opposite. So my work weeks are effectively like 2 weeks long, and I just have like days off when I'm just exhausted. And then I'm just trying to finish up projects at home, outside. I started removing some siding, and so so I had some. If you guys are curious, I have some asbestos siding on the outside of my place, and so I've been removing that, being very careful with it. And there's wood siding underneath it, and so I've just been cleaning that up. And I'm just trying to finish that stuff before winter. And I had the week off of work so I could catch up on it, but it just rained a bunch, so I've just been in kind of a funk. But that's life. But anyways, yeah. And I will add seed up here so I don't forget. And yeah, and salt, no problem. Hopefully that was helpful with my analysis on let's see, on perch. Yeah. And so let's see. The next one is Asti Ascent Solar. And so following that reverse split, I'm especially at 1 for 100. That is insane. And then there's this 1 for 200 over here. I think Quoduo had this like rule of thumb that if you go back, I think 2 years in time, if the stock price was, I don't know if it's 100 or 1,000, I forget what it was, dollars a share, then that's kind of like a, not a good sign. And so regardless of that rule of thumb, I think it's, if you go back 2 years and it was above $1,000 a share, what we can see here where the cursor is, that's from September of 2023. And that was, just after a 1 for 200 reverse split. And the stock price was, prior to that reverse split, over $1,000 a share. And that's like a little more than a year ago. It was trading at that massive gap down. So like on this reverse split day, which was September 12th, let's see, it closed on that day at a price of $920. And, it had a high of over $1,000, a high of $1,291. Gap down over here was 62%. And then, basically, like relative to that prior price action, it's just been flat. Basically, it went to zero. So, so from that, let's see, the high on the reverse split day down to the low over here, which is, that's not even the low. 64 is the low. It's down 95%. And so I'm not trying to be mean or anything, say anything about that. But I think that this one might just be like, and then, yeah, I mean, from there, and then it's come down to 225. Like, it's not a 1 for 10 reverse split. I feel like that's kind of expected. If a company is going to do a reverse split, 1 for 10. If they have to do more than that, if it's an odd number, maybe there's a rally. But this company seems like, well, they have a habit of, within less than a year. So this prior reverse split was September 12th of 2023. This more recent reverse split, which was 1 for 100, was August 15th. So less than a year later, they go from 1 to 200, 1 to 100. Do they have prior reverse splits? They had a reverse split over here. 1 for 5,000 in 2022. And let's see, what's this? Yeah, I mean, then they're over here. Reverse split 1 for 1,000 back in 2018. And so, I mean, they haven't had tons of reverse splits, but I just feel like this is kind of a bad sign. And so what might be a good idea is, just drawing a line in the sand. And that could be the low, the 52-week low, which is the all-time low of $2.25. And just, let's say a line in the sand is yellow, that if it goes to 225, that's it. Cut it. And maybe it rallies, or maybe it, has a big move up like this. But I could see, this consolidation over here. Let's say just go into the low over here. That's like 663. Maybe price could get up to there. And so maybe that's like a good level to say, well, if it goes up to 663, that's doubling effectively what it's at right now. Maybe that's a good place to take or not profit, cut losses, or take profit if it's a new position. But I feel like this is probably just going to continue bleeding. The market cap is 3.4 million. That's a lot of money to me personally. 1 million is, 100,000 is a lot of money to me personally. But as far as trading goes, a company that only has a few $1,000,000, especially after just having done multiple reverse splits over the past year plus, there are people that do $1,000,000 trades in a day. So if a person can do that, a company having 3.4 million, I think this is probably going to bleed. I don't think it's a good strategy unless the thesis is something like this, and maybe it's like, I'll get 100 shares, risk $300. If it goes to zero, that's no big deal. If it goes up for 100% swing, that's great. To double, getting up to 663, then that's great. But there's a lot of uncertainty, and maybe it goes up like this, maybe it doesn't, or maybe it's already done that, and then it just bleeds, and then just more and more pain. Yeah, because it did just move up. It is holding up here, so I think that's good. So I guess maybe I would think it's coming back down to 225 if it closes below 3. And so let's see, the open on the 22nd of October was at $3 a share. So I feel like that's, another line in the sand. Want to be seeing it holding above $3 a share. And by holding, I mean no closes below $3 a share. If it does, then I think it's coming down to 225. And if it comes down to 225, then I think it's going lower. So anyways, I think this one's risky because of the series of reverse splits. And, not all the companies are going to make it. And, I feel like I did Lordstown Motors a long time ago before I had a channel, lost money on that. More recently with the channel, I was making videos on Fisker. Both of those were terrible decisions. And there are other stocks that I've traded in the past. I didn't dime in hand. I either accepted a loss or I took a small profit and moved on. They've, been delisted. And so this company may be on that track. Or, maybe it could be on the track similar to Mullen Automotive, which is just nonstop diluting. And that's just a terrible stock to hold. Sorry if you hold it, no offense. But I just think that, on this reverse split back here, I was like, oh, well, somebody pointed out, this guy Volatility pointed out, the last time they did a reverse split. And I actually remember this, at launch, went up on this day 78%. So it's maybe that happens again. So I think I bought 10 shares or something, a small position here, $10. Actually, no, maybe I just bought one share. I think I probably just bought one share. It's $10, I'll risk $10. And it didn't squeeze up and it just bled. And so, yeah, this is a 1 for 100 in September, just like Sense Solar. Let's see, a little bit earlier, this is in August. Yeah, so I think it's risky, and these companies can bleed to zero. And Mullen, let's see, market cap, 10.73 million. I don't know how they still have that much money because, yeah, this is not a healthy chart. I guess over here, this is, healthy when the axis is not changing so much. But, speaking of healthy chart, this was trading at, let's see, 1.3 trillion effectively. And so, yeah, as time goes on, this doesn't look, this just doesn't look that bad here. But then more recently, really since 2023, they've just been doing all these reverse splits and it's just been going down to nothing. So, yeah, be cautious. These things do go to zero sometimes. So, yeah, hopefully that's helpful. No, Nameless, I don't have the Fraulein, but I did meet up with somebody yesterday, so maybe I'll have a Fraulein. Who knows? If that's what you mean. But yeah, the dating scene where I live sucks. But I met somebody who seems cool. But she lives an hour away. So it would probably not be too involved, which is fine. But let's see. I'm just gonna check back up. So I did. Uh, let's see. I'm just gonna see where Asti was. Okay, so Asti, and then I'll do sober. Uh, Actually, well, I should probably. Let's see. Jack's requested finger, so I'll try to do that. Um, uh, and yeah, Nameless says Oktoberfesting. You know what I mean? I have not been Oktoberfesting. Actually, during there was actually my neighborhood. Like I live in a pretty small college town. I don't really like it that much. But my neighborhood had a little Oktoberfest, a beer festival, but I happened to be working that weekend because I work every other weekend. And I would have liked to go to that, but at the same time, like when I was in grad school, I got introduced to um, uh, beer festivals in Miami. And basically, my buddies and I would go to them with the plan of like getting as trashed as you possibly can. And so I do that. And yeah, I just had like a really good strategy of like, getting the little cup and then just going to the front of the line, like on the side, and then just holding it out. And people will be distracted talking and stuff as they fill up the little cup. And so, yeah, I just get like way too drunk at those. And I feel like I'm a little too old to do that now. Or at least the friend circle that I have, or the few friends that I have, they're too old for that. So I don't know that it would be that fitting. But yes, I work that day anyways. But yeah, I need to find. Actually, I got a couple guys that would probably be down to be stupid, but I had to work anyways. Anyways, talking about being stupid with booze, let's take a look at sober, ticker symbol SOBR. And so this one did just have a reverse split, 1 for 110. I really don't like that. Not only, I think it's nice when it's a one followed by, a 1 0 or 2 zeros, because then your share count or whatever, it's easier to calculate. But 1 for 110, like, was that 10 really necessary? I don't really like that. And let's just see, did it have a bunch of reverse splits in the past? There was another one over here. This was a 1 for 3, so that's kind of like a nothing burger over there. So yeah, and then like going back here, 300, back in 2022, 2 years ago, so not too bad. But yeah, so for this, I mean, I feel like following that reverse split, big moves to the upside. This one looks pretty bearish because, like this one, big green candle goes up 166 basically percent. That's insane. Then it consolidates, looks really good. And then it, goes up super high. So this, even though it closed down here, that went up basically 30% on the day, but a measurement from the close of the previous day to that high, up about 143%. Very nice there. But, like this one, this moved up and pulled back a little and held. And we can actually see, let's just take a Fibonacci retracement just out of curiosity. 370 up to the high there. And we can add, let's see, I'm going to do the 786. That's a little bit low. 618, golden pocket right there. Basically, kind of held that golden pocket and then moved up higher. And then now it's broken below. And we can actually look, maybe the 786 is where price is currently at. But yeah, I mean, it closed on Friday below that. So I feel like this is probably going to bleed more. Like it's had these nice, like super huge moves, and this might be fading back some more. So yeah, and we can see, let's see, with this, I mean, this did put in, higher highs with the RSI, higher highs here. So there's no divergence there. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like this looks like, I mean, I guess if it holds like it's below 550 because the 786 is 557. If it holds 550, like if it closes maybe one more day below 550, still keep an eye on it. But if it gets the rest of the week closing above 550, maybe it's found a bottom here and it could be doing another rally. But I think I just think it's very speculative. Um, yeah, like I feel like a lot of like these newer tech stocks, this I think it's a really good invention, but yeah, the market cap like 1.69 million. Like yeah, that's just such a small amount of money. And did they do any like capital raises or anything? File for resale up to 30. You can see it just right above me there. Up to 31.04 million shares of common stock. So that was on October 24th. And so when was that? October 24th. And so, yeah, I mean, so files for resale, files for sale, sales not complete. So, I mean, maybe what could be nice about this is once they announce that the sale's complete, then it could be rallying. So maybe there's something there. But I just think generally it's like um, risky because it's already had these big moves and it's pulling back. But yeah, I mean, I'd look for it holding 550. I feel like that's the message for it for this one. And, like, let's see, what kind of moves were these? So, this had that kind of move, that kind of move, more than that. And so let's see, like, from here, if it were to repeat the same kind of move, I think this could like double potentially from where it's currently at. But anything beyond that, I think would just be very risky. And, it might take months for that to happen. But actually, one thing that we can do is we can see from, this pullback, so like from the bottom over here, how long did this take? Well, actually, maybe I want to just drag it over like that. So we're being a little bit conservative. And then so from here, yeah, I mean, this is taking longer than it did then. Maybe it would take like double the amount of time. And so, yeah, I mean, that you could think of that as like, okay, from those, from those two, I'm just going to line up the middle to be with that candle. And then so maybe something like this. So maybe by like the middle of November, maybe it could be going up to like 10 or, 2x, whatever, right now. But maybe it doesn't, and then maybe it just bleeds. So I'd be cautious with it. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Sorry, lots of rambling. Do I speak German? No, but I know a phrase. If any of you speak German, you might know what it means. But if you don't speak German or you know a little bit, you may not. What I know is Ich bin ein Ozeanwissenschaftler. And so I'll let you guys figure out what that is. If you know German, if not, you'll just have to appreciate that you don't know what that means. Ich bin ein Ozeanwissenschaftler means I am an ocean scientist, because I used to be an ocean scientist, but I'm not anymore. I am instead a degenerative gambler with the stock market. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna scroll back up to see what the next request was. I just went over Sober. And so, okay, Asti Sober, Gary, you've done that. Neo was requested, so I'll go over that pretty quick. But yeah, I mean, like, so I've got this uptrending level here that I've gone over in the video. I don't really like how it looks like we're potentially breaking below it. I mean, we have broken below it, but that could be a fake out. I just think that, yeah, I mean, and also, like, you'll have to, I mean, I guess this is, let's see, where is my, I think I've got it up here on the screen. Let's see. Oh, yep, no, it's right here. So this is kind of like, a bunch of data that I put together for the options thing. If I look at Neo, I put this on the thumbnail of it because I think it looks really good. And so with this data here, this is just going back to late September. I only had data going back that far. So this is the call that I'm holding, and or I've been accumulating. I have a pretty small position, but I've been accumulating. I just have one contract. I have, let's see, I've got it noted. I've got 6 contracts, which is a lot for me. But yeah, what we can see here, this is volume in blue, open interest in orange. And so what I see here is that have volume pretty low, close to 0, and then you see a spike in volume, which at that time corresponds with a spike in premium up to like over $250,000. That's an orange over here, that total premium. And what you see following that spike in volume is you see open interest hold up there. And so open interest is over here, volume is on this axis, and they happen to be pretty similar. And so that tells me that whoever made this big move, whether it's one account, multiple accounts, whatever it is, it was all on one day. So it seems like it was like probably a big order. And they've been holding. They haven't been dumping. So that looks really good to me. And if we look at, let's see, that was just after the 15th. So that was over here. That was after, let's see, the average fill for contracts for each day is in blue. And, we saw that, I wish that wouldn't pop up all the time. Maybe if so that price that the premium had come down, that the stock price had also come down, and it's more or less consolidated. And so, I feel like this looks really good. So I feel like NIO heading towards $8 a share before June 20th. I think that seems pretty reasonable. And that does line up pretty nicely, with this inverse head and shoulders pattern that's, like right here, which, you could argue that failed. I do feel like it did fail. Or, maybe that we're looking at bigger picture inverse head and shoulders over here. And a measured move from that would definitely be getting priced to, just getting up to that neckline will be getting up to right around $7 a share. And so, I think that NIO, for me, I have a small share position, but I mainly have calls. I'm trying to shift more to just like trading options contracts, because then I'll get in and I'll get out, whether it's a 20% swing, 10%, or maybe it's break even, hopefully not losing money. Maybe it's 100% swing. And, whereas with shares in that time, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to hold it for a little bit more. Or, I really like the company. I love the company. But with options, you have, a date that you can't be holding unless you want to buy the shares, unless you want to exercise them, the contract. So I think NIO looks really good. I think I need to take a break from doing videos on it because I did like a follow-up. And, I think I need to see how this plays out, and then I can have more discussion of that. But I think it's testing this uptrend. I think it's a little precarious. I think that a lot of stuff, aside from the stock market, aside from the U.S. economy, is happening next week. And, maybe that could coincide with some more stuff going on with China and their economy. And also another thing to note, though, I've talked about inverse head and shoulders. I wonder if we formed a head and shoulders pattern here, so maybe this is bearish. So I'd keep an eye on that. Hopefully we don't get closes. Let's see the close over here. The low was like $4.96. Hopefully we're not getting below $5 a share. Hopefully we hold that as the bottom. And that's my sentiment. I think this is going up, but I'm biased, so take it with a grain of salt. Okay, and so Fort Crypto, more money. I'll go over that. Hopefully you're still with us. I'm just going to catch up on the comments here. And so let's see. Cool. Yeah, so Benjamin's saying that Benjamin's a scientist, and I once lived in Berlin for 3 years. So I went through grad school. I got a PhD and was doing research, studying the ocean. And I got offered a postdoc, which is like a temporary, like 2-year research position at the University of Kiel in Germany, in Kiel. And I was very intrigued by it. They have a program there called GeoMar or GeoMar, depending on how you pronounce it. And no problem about the NIO analysis, Walid. I was very intrigued by it. But the European way that labs are run at universities is very different than they are in the US. And I didn't really like it. I just felt like I would have been a cog in a machine rather than, an integral part of a small group of people. And I decided not to take that position. I got rubbed the wrong way. I actually flew out to Kiel to visit, and I decided to decline. I just got rubbed the wrong way. And I think I made the right decision there. And actually, I did some research in Canada for a couple of years at the University of British Columbia, if you're curious, in Vancouver. And I feel like that's kind of, similar to how I felt in Germany when it was like, a very big group of scientist students working under one person, and you just felt like a cog in a machine. So I didn't really like it too much. And do I still F with ocean science? No, I don't. I don't really do any of that stuff anymore. I used to go out to sea and I really liked that a lot, but I think I would have just been struggling for like faculty positions or research positions. So I left really because of how things were handled around the pandemic. I didn't feel like the university was supporting me as much as they should have been. And I felt like, at the time I was living in a studio apartment that's garden level in Vancouver. And I felt like, 5 years down the road, I'd still be in the same position, living in a cool city, working constantly and not making enough to be able to enjoy the cool city. So I felt like it was a good time to change career path. And I did that. And we'll see if that's a good decision. Still, everything's in the making with, am I good at trading? Am I good at YouTube? So we'll see. I think that things are going to work out well for me. I think 2025 is going to be a really good year, and I'm thinking I'll quit my job to focus more on YouTube and trading, which will probably be more videos too, just like on options trades and stuff, because I find that to be really useful for me at least. Oh, Benjamin's not a scientist. I was translating your sentence. Oh, uh, oh, yeah, you translated. I am not a scientist. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm just trying. I am a scientist, is what Benjamin is saying. Yes, well, so, ich bin ein Wissenschaftler would be, I think I am a scientist. And I don't think there's a German girl that I met like a year ago that I thought was cool, but she ended up being lame. And she told me that the structure of that phrase would be different. It made sense to her, but it would be different. It would be more proper to do it a different way. But I just remember, Ozean Wissenschaftler. So Ozean would be ocean, and then Wissenschaftler would be scientist. So ich bin I am a. And the reason why I learned that is because I was learning some German on Duolingo when I was going to Kiel and preparing to go to Kiel. And I was playing some pickup soccer, and somebody was like, well, do you know any German? And I said, ich bin ein Mann, which means I am a man. And they're like, well, yeah, of course you're a man. I know that. And then so it's like, well, I should think of something more clever to say. And so then I learned how to say Ozean Wissenschaftler and strung that together. But yeah. Kiel is near the Danish border for sure. Yeah, and there's also like it's very interesting too, but in kind of like a weird, eerie way that there were like some undetonated bombs or some bombs from maybe I shouldn't use that word. I'm not sure, but being historical around the wars from the 1940s and before that. Yeah, so yeah, just a very interesting part of the world. A lot of very interesting history that's very like, the very I yeah, just it's it like and that's not what rubbed me the wrong way when I was there. I had a cold, and rather than them flying me, they flew me there. It was very nice. But they flew me on like a like base level where I was on a flight. They didn't even offer me water as like a 8-hour flight or something. And so, yeah, I mean, I just got rubbed the wrong way. I was told I'd be working on a specific project. And then when I gave a presentation on that project, I was told by somebody in the audience who is a different faculty member that I would not be working on that project because it didn't get funded. And it's like, oh, well, that's weird. And then I confronted the guy I'd been working for, and he was like, oh, yeah, that project's not happening, but it's okay. I have funding for this other thing. It's like, don't you want to tell me that before I give a talk about what I'm going to be doing here? So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of, I guess, really just like culturally, like the way European universities function, very different than in the US. And it just rubbed me the wrong way. It wasn't the right fit. But yeah, I've got to catch up on these tickers because it's been an hour and a half and I can't be up terribly late. And so let's see, FNGR, Jax, hope you're still here. So I'll go over that. And I have no idea about this one. FNGR. Let's see. I mean, something that I see that's kind of discouraging. Just looking at this, I just say, I'll draw a trend line from the low over here, 162, connect it to over here. And so this looks really discouraging to me because, from this, trend line, big move up. Let's see, how high did it go up? I'm just going to drag this over here so we see the percentage over 1,300%. So that's a very nice big move. Pulls back to form that uptrend, tests it, then gets another really big move, comes back, tests it, gets a smaller move, comes back, breaks that level, gets a fake out break above, gets rejected, double top at that level. So yeah, I mean, FNGR, I think that this one's going lower. I'm sorry to say. Where do I think that it could be finding some support? That's the question of the day. Potentially, maybe it's at some support. The reason why I say that is because, we've got this like pivot high over here. And that was support over here, maybe right around 170. Maybe that's acting as support, but if it breaks lower than that, yeah, then I think it's kind of tough to say where the bottom might be because, drawing like a line across based on these lows, it's like once it gets to these lows, there's not much below it. Then it gets to like 101 over here, then there's not much below it. So there's not going to be much support. But at this like pivot high, potentially there's some support there. It did bounce here, so maybe there's a little bit of hope. But I think overall this does not look so great. So I'd be very cautious with FNGR, which is finger motion, which is kind of a weird name in my opinion because it sounds dirty. I'm going to add that to the DGen ed list. And let's see. And so Benjamin's following up with some casual chit chat comments. I'm not a scientist. Oh, just translating your sentence. Wissen economist. Are you an economist, Benjamin? Wirtschaftswissenschaftler. Yeah. Wissenschaftler. So that'd be like, maybe I said worse because I'm not used to reading German. Wirtschaftswissenschaftler. Wirtschaftswissenschaftler. Economist, something like that. Very tough to say. Thanks for time you have given to us analyzing stocks. Yeah, no problem. Happy to do it. But I will start to wind this down though. As I go through these last remaining stocks. And I think, Benjamin, you might have requested plug. I think that might be the next one that I have to go over. And so I'm just trying to do this in order. Sorry, everybody. Let's see. Finger. And then I did sober already. I already did Fastly. TMDX is actually the next one that I see on here. Yeah, let's see. So I'm not sure where plug is. I thought it was requested a little bit earlier. I'm just trying to find it. Oh, plug was actually right after FNGR, so I'll do plug really quick. But yeah, so my analysis with plug is, let's see, I did go over this in the options video, so I'd recommend checking that out. But I don't really go over the stock price too much, but really just like, I think that this, I mean, like $3 right there. There's that gap there. I think that this is just like really like testing this level. Eventually, it's going to break out. And let's see, plug from that spreadsheet that I have. Let's see, where is plug on it? So this, yeah, I mean, we see there's nothing like, so volume isn't, or sorry, this is open interest. It's like 1,800 contracts open. This is a $3 call with the June 20th expiration. This data here, I think I need it more data to really see if there's anything that's telling. But just like this is the open interest is going up, so more people are holding these contracts. And with that being said, the stock price, which is in green over here, has been going up. I mean, it's, yeah, like closing price on the first was 209. And so, yeah, I think that, I mean, I'm bullish on plug. I might be wrong about it though. Yeah, 209. Because yeah, I mean, it's like broken below these levels, but then it's like, left shoulder, inverse head. Maybe this is the right shoulder. Maybe this is all the right shoulder. This is, upside move consolidation. So yeah, I mean, I'm wanting to see this break out to $3 a share, but we just need a little bit more time. And I think that patience is the key. I think patience will pay. My thesis from that video is still the same. But I could be wrong. I'm not always right. So yeah, and I guess I should note with that plug contract, I have 3 contracts, 41 cent average. So I'm risking with those calls about $123 effectively. But I think that between now and June, I think that price will be coming up to 3. But if I'm wrong, then, I will learn from my mistakes. And so let's see, what's the next one after plug? Did Fastly, did Neo, did Sober, TMDX, so I'll go over that next. And so yeah, this gap down, maybe there's something that, this is probably going to be hopium, but doing this blind because the stock price is over here. But just drawing a ray from this low, $10, which was hit on February 24th of 2022. That was the low, connecting it with this pivot point over here. I think this is going to be below price. The low was, I imagine, 36.76, which was hit on that day, which was right around the end of October of last year. And so I'm just going to lock that into place so it doesn't move. Yeah, that's lower than current price, so that looks a little bit rough. If price does come down to like 50, let's say $60, it takes some time to fade. It could be finding some nice support there. So I'd keep that trend line in mind for this one. And what we can do is we can do a Fibonacci retracement from the lows over here, really just being kind of approximate for sake of time. And, it does look like it broke below the golden pocket there. So maybe it'd be nice for it to start closing above like 86. But if it doesn't do that, 66, that's the 786. But yeah, I mean, I could see it consolidating around where it's at because of this consolidation over here. There's this gap to the upside, but, coming down after earnings by like almost 30% and then following that even more. So, yeah, I mean, maybe this is, maybe there's some hopium here or something, so from the low following that gap to this low over here, broken below that. So that's not hopium. So yeah, I mean, I don't think this looks that great, unfortunately. And I would look for, I mean, like if I didn't have a position in this and I was like, I have to have a position in this, I would say, okay, well, I'm just going to wait and or let's say, I just wanted to trade it. I don't have to have a position in it. I'd say I'm going to wait until 60 or at least 70, coming down to like at least kind of like test this 786. Maybe price doesn't go that low. So, I mean, I'd at least wait for 70 and kind of just like reevaluate. But yeah, I think that one looks a little bit risky. And so after that, I'll probably just go down these in the order they were received. Because I will not be able to finish the stream. TMC, yeah, I'll do TMC right now, Nameless. Sorry for holding you up. But yeah, TMC, let's see. Right around $1, that's like a tough level. This does look like, it's broken down below this uptrend, but, I think a number of the charts that I've shown have broken levels and then reclaimed them. So I don't think hope is lost with this. And yeah, I had drawn this level, let's see, 97.3 cents, 97 cents, closed the week above that. So I think that's good. Also, we didn't get any closes below 97.3 cents. No closes below this low, even though we got this big candle going down to 94.33 cents. That was a green candle, a bullish engulfing candle. And to me, that actually gives me more confidence. If it was, red and then closed down here and then reclaimed, we got to close below there. So I'm a little concerned. But there's no close below there. And so that makes me feel like it swept the lows and this is actually looking good. So I feel like this is looking better than it's looking worse, even though it's below this uptrend. It, tested this level, 95 cents, which was the open over here, I believe. Swept that low, or that open, swept the low from that day, and actually filled this gap, yeah. Or did it fill that gap? So the close here on September 13th was 94 cents. The low over here was 94.33 cents. And so that gap is unfilled, but that could be a psychological game of, hey, I bet retail is going to wait for that gap to be filled. Let's get it as close as possible to fill that gap and then start to launch it. And also, retail draws this uptrend and they say, oh, we've broken below that uptrend. This is going to be collapsing. Also, there's that gap that we nearly filled. We're going to fill it. But we don't have to. And so with that being said, I feel like this, I feel better about this. And really just, from like a psychological standpoint, anybody waiting for that gap to be filled at 94 cents is going to be getting left behind. And if this does, break out from the highs over here, which is around 119, that was the high on September 16th. Once price gets up to, 119, I think people are then going to see that level and be like, I'm missing out. I got a FOMO in. And and then that drives it even higher. So I feel like this is set up to be going higher, but maybe like on Monday, there's a close below 95 cents and it starts to fade below 94. So that's a possibility. But I think that this is looking good. That, these two candles look strong. Dip below, but then a bullish engulfing. Big wick to the downside, suggesting that buyers were stepping in, keeping the price above 95 cents, above 97.3 cents. So I think that's looking really good. So I like it. So yeah, cool chart, but it has broken some levels, so good to be cautious and have a plan if it does start to close below 94 cents and fill that gap. But yeah, so hopefully that's helpful, Nameless. Sorry about the wait. And then I know, Trey, I don't know if you're still here. I feel bad that I made you wait so long for me to talk about SoFi. But for me, earnings, they had this, I was thinking, earnings, this is probably going to pull back. I don't want to be a naysayer or anything because you seem pretty happy with your position. It did pull back, but it's bounced back up. I feel like, from this gap fill at 601, I think I had a gap drawn at 603, and everybody was like trashing me, like over here, I believe, or no, I think maybe this earnings report. People were like, no way, it's going to be going higher. And I said, no, I think it's going lower. And it did come down to fill that gap. There's this other gap to the downside at 541. If you heard me mention it earlier, I've got that number memorized. because it's an important lesson for me that this gap was filled and I was the person who was being stubborn, waiting for the secondary gap to be filled. That's going to be left behind before, a massive move to the upside. I bought at like 603, I believe. Basically 100%, 90.71% move to the upside over the course of, 86 calendar days, so about 3 months, roughly. 1 quarter, you see from the low here to this. I think it's probably going to cool off. And with that being said, talking about multiple gaps. Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, that's an excellent trade. I'd be really proud to have held through this and to be questioning, is this a good time to buy or sell? I mean, it could continue to run. But there is a gap here now, and that's at 901, the close there. And so I'm just going to color that blue. This other gap, has been filled, so we don't need to pay attention to that one. There's this gap here. And yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big gap. That could be left behind though. But yeah, I mean, it's just like it's gone up a lot in 1 quarter. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it started to cool off. Especially, yeah, I mean, this is like 1150. What was the high over here? 1170. So that's effectively, almost a double top. But here it's a lower high. And here in the RSI, it's a lower high as well. So there's no divergence there. So it could be bullish. It could continue higher. But it doesn't always. Like, I feel like I don't really mention bearish or bullish divergence too often because I feel like it's more of a, like the Bitcoin chart, like, oh, back in the last cycle, clearly that was bullish or that was bearish divergence when that put in that higher high. This is a lower high. Maybe it puts in a higher high. But then if the RSI is below what it was over here, which is like the highest, 87.42. Yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, this spike was corresponding with this peak, and then it put in a higher high, lower high in the RSI, and then it sold off. So it's bearish divergence. And so if we look at the peak in RSI relative to this peak over here, we're putting in a higher high in the RSI, whereas a lower high in the stock price. And so I believe that's hidden bearish divergence. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that this could be coming down to $9 a share and then, reevaluate around there. So I would definitely, if I was in the position and I had held this long, I would definitely at least take probably at least half of my position off the table. Yeah, so, I mean, it's been a great run, so congrats on that. I've missed out on it, but I didn't chase, I didn't get emotional about it, or I recognized that I had too much emotion in it because I unlearned this hard lesson that gaps get left behind. In this 541, I think it's getting left behind. This 901 may not be. That one may be filled. I think it's pretty reasonable to think that would be filled. Yeah, because then it's like, we've created another situation. I'm just going to delete this yellow retracement here. We've got this other situation where, we got this gap to the downside here, 541. I don't think we're getting that filled. This gap to the downside here at 746. Now I think that's the newest secondary gap. Or maybe it's, this one over here, or something around 8. But I think that this gap at 9 is probably going to be filled. And maybe this one down here will not be. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that one. And yeah, so I don't have any more follow-up requests. So I'm just going to go over seed at the end. This, I'm just going to see what kind of company this is. Agritech Limited. It's an agricultural biotechnology company, Agribiotech. Their market cap is 16 million, so It's not super tiny. This did pull back to like, I mean, I'm actually just going to delete this because that's, or maybe I want to move it, just move it up to the top here. That, you know, fake out break below the 786, maybe respecting it. So 244, maybe 240. Look for that. We could also draw an uptrend at this point. I might just delete these other levels on it. So we just have the 786 on there. So it's not too overwhelming. But what we can do, I'm sure you'll guess what I'm going to do, draw a ray from this low at 137. And then, you know, rather than doing it from the low over here, I'm going to do it from the close. And yeah, I mean, that could be some notable support right there. So yeah, I mean, I would look for it to be holding above, really like above 240. I would say that's like worst case scenario, but ideally 244 or 245 really, because this is 244.2. You know, I kind of drew it approximately. But yeah, but also I think it's good to recognize too, though, that, you know, this is a downside move, consolidation. Maybe that's a bear flag. We do see higher highs here in the stock price, also higher high in the RSI. And the RSI actually looks pretty mellow. You know, the RSI is at 40.08, so pretty low. And that RSI is putting in higher lows, just like the stock price is putting in higher lows. And, you know, it only got up to a maximum RSI of 69.08, so not even into the 70 territory, which is the overbought territory. So I think this could be moving higher. And we also do have a gap here, which is around, let's see, I'm just making sure that's right. The close was 467, so that's right. That gap has not yet been filled, so I'm going to do a dashed blue line. So we see that there. And so, yeah, I mean, from current price up to fill that gap, that would be, you know, an 80% move to the upside. So it looks really nice there. But if this does break, I mean, maybe it will be selling the bottom, but like this low of 212, maybe that's a good level to be keeping an eye on. And if there's a wick to that level that's a lower low, it's breaking this pattern, and it might be coming back to 137 at that point. So, I mean, hopefully that's helpful. And yeah, I think I've caught up on all of the tickers. And some of it did come up in this, but I would definitely check out that options video. I did put timestamps on it, and I'm going to do that kind of like on a weekly basis, just follow up on it. For the most part, those are trades that I'm involved in. They're kind of long dated at least 7 months from now. And, you know, I'm just kind of going to document that so I learn, and hopefully the information is useful for you guys. But yeah, I mean, with that being said, I'm going to do one last cheers. I'm going to close this down. Because, yeah, I got to get into bed. I've got to get into bed. That's kind of weird. But yeah, got to get into bed. Anyways, if you guys have not already liked it, make sure you like the stream. And I'm sure you guys are all subscribers, but if not, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, I check out the options video. I think that should be like, you know, it's documenting my learning. And so hopefully that's helpful for you guys. And, you know, I imagine that, you know, some of the information can be relayed to other stocks, other trades. But yeah, from that, I mean, I'll go over it real quick as I wind this down. The ones that stand out to me as just like from the data, just looking really clear to me. Let's see, the $8 strike for this coming January 17th on the in the new year. What we see here for this AMC call, $8 strike, this is a little sooner dated than I would like. I do have a position, just one contract, risking $20. But what we see here is a spike in the volume, which represents, if we look over here, about $180,000 all in one day. So that does seem unusual to see that spike in the premium on that day and to see that corresponding with a spike in volume. And following that, we see the open interest stay up. So that makes me think, somebody with about $180,000 thinks that this is going to $8 a share before January 17th, that there's going to be some price action going to the upside. And following that, price has really just come down. And so green over here is the price, but it does look like it might be starting to turn around as you see this come down and then it go up. And so this could be getting ready for some big moves. So I feel pretty good about this one. I did go over how I have a limit sell at 20%, which would be at 24 cents. I might actually adjust that to 40 cents because I think that this could be going up. Because if we do look at this date for this spike here, September 20th, and so if I look over at the premium for September 20th, that was 32 cents. And so, I could definitely be getting more than, or maybe just placing a limit sell at 32 cents. I actually think that's a good idea because that is the mid, for when this big spike was. So I am just going to note 32 cents in my little notebook, and because I think that's a good limit sell for that. And then that's 60% swings, a little bit nicer there. And then let's see, the other one that I went over is NEO, same kind of pattern, spike in the volume, open interest remains high after that. And so this was after the 15th, and the premium hasn't really gone down too much from there. So and this is June 20th, so plenty of time for price to get up to $8 a share. But yeah, let's see. I'm just going to come back to this. But yeah, cheers, Nameless. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thank you for hanging out. And I'll do this again next Sunday. And I'm really curious to see what happens in the week. And I'm hoping that it's not a crazy volatile week. Like I just put out the video on the UVIX. I have just sold my position in that. So I hope it comes back. But I think a couple weeks from now, it will have settled and it will be a good time to accumulate more because I've kind of noticed this, it takes 2 weeks to go up and then 2 weeks to come back down, 2 weeks to go up. And so, and right around now is when it tends to top. So I think that we might have it priced in, whether it's the election, whether it's a rate cut, something going on in the world. I think that that might be priced in and we might see some rallies during the week. So I wouldn't be surprised about that, but I also wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong. And so anyways, thank you all for hanging out. I hope you have a great start to your week, whether that's just trading or at the office, wherever that is. And I'll have another video out tomorrow and I'll respond to comments tomorrow. Sorry I haven't gotten to that yet, but I've just been in, I don't know. It's been a struggle lately, but that's how it is. And Benjamin, hopefully this week will mark the start of a multi-year rally for EV stocks. Yeah, and I feel like you can make that argument for either side. So I'm hopeful with ChargePoint, hopeful with Blink as well. I think EVgo needs to cool off, but yeah, I'm ready for the bottom to be in for those and to see some pretty big moves. But yeah, thank you all so much, and I will chat with you in the comments. I'll catch up. I'll respond to you guys. And a big reason why I try to respond to all comments is because I see them when I open the YouTube Studio app. So I try to cross them all off the list to make sure we're staying connected because that's a big part of the channel. But anyways,